All right, guys, welcome to The Real Man. We are here, man, with a guy that I had the honor of watching him play back in the day. Actually, I came in, I think, to the Harrisburg School District the year after this gentleman left. He had actually graduated, went on and played at University of Virginia, had a stellar career, had a short stint in the NFL, but did well there as well. And now he's doing some big, big things back in his hometown, which I give a lot of respect for, because I think a lot of people who get to a certain point in their career move on and forget about where they came from. And this guy's not forgetting about where he came from. And I'm going to let him go into the details of what he's doing right now. All the great things, actually. But without further ado, Mikell Simpson, how are you today, man?
Hey, thanks for bringing me on, giving me the opportunity to talk with you. Like I said, my name is Mikell Simpson. I'm a Harrisburg grad. Went to the University of Virginia coming out of high school. I had over 50 scholarships. I was a rated All-American on offense, as a running back, and defense as a defensive back. My selections came down to Virginia, Alabama, and Florida. I decided to choose Virginia simply because it was closer for my family to be able to be involved with my education process, being able to come see me play. I just felt like if I went down to Alabama or Florida, that would be a struggle, for my family to be able to get down there and see me play or support me for anything that's going on. Like I said, that's 3 hours down the road, straight 81. And also, University of Virginia, a lot of people may not know, it's for the past 20 years have been top 3 academic universities in the country. So when you talk about academics, that's top of the echelon. So that was a big decision too. Big thing that played a decision for me. Went to University of Virginia, had a great career there. Got a few records there. I actually have the longest touchdown bowl record run, 96 yards against Texas Tech when they had Michael Crabtree and Graham Harrell and all those guys. Then coming out of college, I signed with the Cincinnati Bengals. And during the physical, they found out I had spinal stenosis and bone spurs, which the chances of being paralyzed are too high. So my career was literally over the same day that I signed the contract. That forced me into a very, very deep depression, suicidal thoughts during that entire summer afterwards. Like I said, I didn't know what my next step in life was. This came out of the blue. My next few years, I was planning, to play in the NFL since, pursuing a dream that I had since I was 5, 6 years old, being able to take care of my family financially, being able to come back to the city and help the city. But those plans changed. And I simply embraced this new plan for my life, a new guidance, which is the Rebirth Project. Like I said, the birth of my daughter literally saved me, and I'll say this a million times on any platform. I don't think I'll be here today or be the person I am today if it wasn't for the birth of my daughter, Miley Simpson. And that's where Rebirth came from, because the birth of her rebirthed my life. It gave me new hope, new passion, new everything, new excitement for life. And that's when I kind of started to develop the plans for my organization and our long-term goal being the Rebirth Project, which we're trying to purchase the William Penn site.
Now, that's, like I said, that story is amazing, and I give you credit as well as I give anybody credit who sees, something go wrong in their life. You know what I mean? You had a depression, you had that stuff, but yet you picked yourself back up. So many people can't do that. So many people cannot get out of that depression or out of that state, and they never get better, but you found your way out. And I give you much credit for that. But I'm also very fascinated by what you mentioned right there at the end with that Rebirth Project, because I've been following you now, and you've been talking about this well over a year, if I'm not mistaken, if not longer.
Yeah.
And what you're doing in the community, not just with the building that I know you want, and you could talk about the building here in a second, but what you do in the community. You have kickball, you have all kind of stuff that you guys do. You guys had the parade with the Halloween parade, the Marvel guys, the superheroes and stuff like that. Why don't you go into some of that before you get into what what your plan is? Hopefully that the city wakes up and the school district wakes up and actually realizes that you're the man who should have the building and your group. But talk about some of the other projects that you're doing.
Yeah, but first thing I want to go back to what you said, coming out of that slump. Anybody who is in that slump, and like sports helped me with this, but find something that you love the most. Like I said, during that time, I look back on the things I did outside of football, and it was all, working with kids through Parks and Recs, working with kids, volunteer at the local community centers and local schools. So a kid just was the alarm for me. And once I had my own kid, it just, elevated me and to bring me out of that dark hole. But like I said, that brought me to the Rebirth. Our mission statement with Capital Rebirth is to unify and uplift Central Pennsylvania through providing positive and family-friendly events and programs. Our first one that we started off with was actually sports because, that's my background. So we actually had alumni flag football games and basketball games where we had Central Dolphins, we had McDevitt's, we had Susquehanna, Steel Highs, Harrisburg's. We had, I think it was 8 schools locally participating, which was great because, some of the older guys got to play with some of the younger guys that they never got to play with, and vice versa. Some of the younger guys got to play with older guys, just bringing generations together, bringing that whole, camaraderie of sports and the whole feeling back. So that aspect, our biggest one is our anti-bullying superhero day, which we promote, letting people know that bullying is not okay and, to be a hero, not a bully. With that event, we encourage people to attend to dress up in their favorite superhero costume or put their favorite T-shirt on or whatever the case may be. We bring out the superheroes themselves. We have inflatable bouncers, all types of field games, free food. Like I said, all our events we make free because we understand not a lot of people can afford some of these other events that are happening. And that's just something that I strongly believe in. A kid shouldn't miss an opportunity of fun or exposure behind money when money shouldn't, be a issue at this point. Like I said, so that's our biggest thing. But one thing we do at our events that is very different is if you come to an anti-bullying event, there's going to be organizations or people who provide services and counseling for your child or for you. So it's not that, hey, I just came to a great event, had tons of fun, but I left with no information. I left with no contact. I don't know where to find help for my child who's being bullied for the past couple of months, is on the brink of committing suicide. You'll be able to have the opportunity to meet with counselors and things of that nature. And we do that for all our events. Our next biggest one probably would be our Stop the Violence and Drug Abuse Talent Festival, which, drugs and violence has plagued our community for centuries. And it's something, that has to end. And it's just our way of bringing awareness to it. Like I said, having resources on site. And we have a fashion show in between that. We have music. We had the high school cheerleaders come out. We had the band. We have different artists come and perform. We have vendors coming out. So it's just kind of a city celebration, bringing everybody together. We also did the free kickball events. One thing that I like to do is if I see someone has initiative already started, like we did donation, clothing donation, backpacks, and care products for the homeless. I had seen on Facebook that other organizations were doing these collections and donation drives. So I said, hey, what fun way to play kickball, collect these goods and give it to that person. Because the one thing, a lot of times is we overstep each other. We'll do the same exact thing. So you'll have 20 different backpack drives going on. And it's like, what's the point? Let's work together, make one big thing. So if you already have initiative doing something, I'm not going to start an initiative to do that. I'm just going to do something to spin off of it and give you the rewards of it, So I think, teamwork, that whole sports mentality. So I kind of take that with our events as well. This year, though, due to COVID, a lot of our events were, kind of altered and scaled. But I think the one that we did this year that was probably, I think, my most exciting thing that we've ever done is we did a citywide parade with our superheroes. So we had motorcycles, we had exotic cars, we had the superheroes, the Avengers on one team and the DCs on one truck, And we literally rode around through Shipoke, out the South Side, through Allison Hill, all the way through Uptown, Midtown. And like, just to be able to go through the entire city and see people out waving. Like I said, the South Side, they don't really get a lot of attention. A lot of events aren't happening on Allison Hill. They only events in the community happen at certain locations, which is usually our community parks. And transportation is an issue for a lot of our residents. So that was a great chance for us to get out, and great marketing as well for people to know who we are. So maybe they can go to Facebook and say, hey, what does Capital Rebirth do? What else do they do? How can I get involved? How can I help this, organization grow and be participating? So I think that was my favorite one. We've done a ton of voter registration things right now. This is my first year voting. I'm not ashamed to say that. I didn't really, as a person growing up in inner city, we don't believe our votes count, and it's just embedded in our head that don't vote. They only care about, what the white man wants to do. We don't matter. But when Donald Trump got in office and so much hate was being pushed, it forced me to self-educate myself about the election. I got very involved. We gave rides to the polls. We had, like I said, voter registration. We had online panels, and it actually linked me with the biggest situation I've ever had in my life, and the first time I was ever starstruck when I was invited to appear on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and which was about a month ago, talking about the election and voting. And like I've been around tons of celebrities and entertainers and the whole nine, but nothing was like Oprah. When she said my name, it was like a shock. I forgot to even say, "Hey, how you doing? Thanks for bringing her on the show." It was just like, oh my God, I dropped the ball, but it's Oprah. So yeah, that's pretty much who we are. We just try to solve any issues in our community, whether that's starting the conversation or whether that's doing an initiative with an action.
That's great, man. That's awesome stuff, man. Now, get into a little bit more now what you're trying to do. You're trying to get this building, okay? And we talked off air, but I want some people to hear this. You're trying to get this building and then grow this even bigger. So why don't you go and explain a little bit more with that?
Absolutely. So like I said, when you develop an organization, hopefully you have that 5-10 year plan, that end game. And this is pretty much the end game to Capital Rebirth. It's us purchasing William Penn, which sits on 26 acres. We want to kind of bring back what William Penn once stood for, which was education, health and wellness, and entertainment. So we want to stick to those core principles. And we want to bring that education and that partnership with the school district, because Votech once resided in William Penn, which was an outlet for tons of people in our community to get those trades and get those certificates and learn those skills in the world that is booming right now. Like I said, so we want to bring that back. And with that move we'll do right now, a lot of people don't know, Harrisburg School District is currently paying DC Tech $3 million for only 200 students to attend per year. And I believe it's going to go up next year to $4 million. With this flip, like I said, we'll have 75 classrooms, 25 creative work labs, which will consist of culinary, construction, plumbing, electric. If you want to be a barber, we'll have the whole media room, like the stock exchange. We'll have the whole setup where kids can come in and create their own content for videos, for podcasts, whatever the case may be. They'll have access to all that. And then we'll also have 50 college lecture style classrooms with the slopes. That way, a lot of times in the classes, kids are walking around, consistently walking in front of the classroom with the slope. That kind of eliminates that. You're not just going to walk down, I hope you're not going to walk down in front of that teacher or that professor teaching. But like I said, with that's 75 classrooms, 25 students per, that's 1,800 enrollment. So if Harrisburg, can say, hey, we'll take 900 slots in our school district, which is 700 more than we originally had, and it's saving us a couple $1 million. But also now we have 900 additional slots where we can do exactly what DC Tech is doing to other school districts. Because like I said, a lot of kids in Harrisburg are missing this boat. A lot of kids in Central Dauphin are missing this boat. Susquehanna, because DC Tech only takes a certain amount of students from each school district. But there are tons of kids who still want to explore these career paths. So like I said, now these other 900 kids can be influxed in, which is helping other school districts and other students in the central Pennsylvania. And now the school district can potentially make $20 million in-house just off of one move. Now your students are going to the most modernized, updated school in, central Pennsylvania by a long shot. So that brings that whole entity back, and it makes the residents feel like they have a part of what's happening at this site, because it is an historic site. It is very important to this community. They have a very strong and passionate alumni association that wants to see this building restored and operating for once the purpose once was. Like I said, a lot of things we've heard through the rumblings have been around housing. We don't know because these other bidders from out of the state. Like I said earlier, housing is not an issue in our community. Back in 1950, we had a population of 90,000. The issue is we need to hold these landlords accountable to fix up the existing housing that we have. But the big thing with that project with William Penn, these kids will learn the construction trades and things. So now they can get jobs or, go out and start their own construction company and start to fix up and rehab some of these housings that exist in our community. Another big thing, a lot of people don't know, movies were shot, often in the city of Harrisburg, but the movie game has changed because they wanted to call and say, Harrisburg, we're coming to shoot a movie. Can you have everything set up? Can you have a team build this construction site? Can you have a team provide this electricity and whatnot? Now we'll bring our actors in. But with our Votech school going for the past 11 years, that has left a big void. Now these, movies they're not calling here, because now if they call here, come movie, hey, I got to bring a movie people to do the movie. Now I got to bring a team to set up and produce. That's just too much. So we lose a lot of opportunities with this VOTEC going. So I think it's very key that we bring it back. And another element we want to bring back is similar to Spooky Nook, but on a smaller scale, is the whole sports component, where we want to have 4 basketball courts. We want to have indoor baseball fields and football, soccer fields, in the biggest weight room, gym, you know, in central Pennsylvania, the most modernized. Like I said, if we can do 25% of Spooky Nook's numbers, we will be great as a city. Because last year, Spooky Nook, in 7 months, they had 1 million visitors. They employed 1,300 people between full, part, and internship. And they created $96 million for the local tax economy. So if we can just do 25% of that as a community, everybody in this central Pennsylvania will benefit. Also, now you won't have to take that hour drive to Spooky Nook to play in a rec league, you know, so it's just convenient for the whole central Pennsylvania. It's not just, you know, something that the city of Harrisburg is going to benefit from. And it sits in a great location. It's literally a couple minutes away from 81, 83, Front Street's right there. The state just bought the land and building the buildings right up on 7th and Division, which is a block away from there, which 1,000 new parking spots are going to be coming, because there are 1,000 workers coming. And also that project and our project will give more leeway. For a lot of people don't know is the city has been proposing to get a bridge built from Division Street that connects over to the Hack area. So now people won't have to drive all the way down to McClay Street, all the way around. Now you'll literally be in and out of the city in 2 minutes. So when we talk about traffic, that kills a lot of that traffic. When we talk about the parking issue, that kills a lot of the parking issue. And another thing we want to bring is an indoor stadium that sits 20,000, which would be the only indoor stadium of this size in the whole entire Northeast region. Living up north, you have 4 seasons, so a lot of these events and things can get canceled due to weather. No matter if it's summer, you could have a rainy summer day, and that event is, you know, blown out the window. So this will give us that stability that we can operate 365. Also, the biggest thing too is it will provide a fallout shelter if there was ever a natural disaster, or, you know, what we're dealing with now, a pandemic. That can be an ideal location where we can have these tests running, or we can use, you know, for bids or whatever the case may be. We have a shortage or any type of thing that's going on, you know, disaster wise in our economy. It's not in the flood zone, which, you know, a lot of people may not be aware, because it is close to the river, but it is safe. The Italian Lake is right underneath there. Like I said, this project, we have over 8,000 signatures currently, petitions, in supporting this. We have a supporting letter from the mayor, supporting letter from the school district board members, but because the state has taken over the school district, the board has no say in this situation, or else wise we probably would have the building right now. We have supporting letters from city council members. So we got the ball rolling. You know, it's just a matter of time, you know, before the school district actually makes their decision on who's going to obtain the lane and what's going to be done there.
Well, listen, man, like I said, I think that's phenomenal. I played up there at Camp Curtin when I used to play basketball against the Cougars way back in the day. And I still tell kids to this day, that is the best gym I ever played in. It was small, compact. And I'll tell you what, we walked in there and the place was mobbed, like so many people. And you would sweat. It would be 10 degrees outside, and you would just sweat bullets. It was the greatest gym I ever played in all my high school career, hands down. And, you know, we used to have some of the best battles with Harrisburg and stuff like that, but I loved that campus up there. You know, just like you said, the Italian Lake's right there. I mean, that whole campus is just beautiful. You know what I mean? So my push would be for you guys to get it. I think what you just said right there is what communities need. Communities need that kind of stuff to rebuild and regrow and get out of the doldrums that have become the cities, you know, that you see across the United States, all the cities that are run down, you know, beat up and stuff like this. You're trying to provide that, you know what I mean? By bringing that in, not just provide it where, well, okay, this one area, but this is to go out where all these kids now have an opportunity to learn the trades, which I've said for the last 2 years, it should be where these kids are going. Because I mean, I worked in the trade when I first got out of college. So I made some darn good money. I made incredible money. Now, I didn't like it per se, but it helped pay off my college loans and all that kind of stuff. Dude, I think I worked for, you know, anywhere between 6 to 9 months in a trade. And I paid off almost all my loans in that 6 to 9 months. It was good money. So people
Yeah.
don't get that. We're not told that. We're always told go to college, get the 4-year degree. That's not always the way the kids need. Some of you, like you said, some of these kids are hands-on, ready to go. And like I said, that's a no-brainer for me. I just don't understand.
And one other important thing that I forgot about, and I want people to be clear in understanding this part. Capital Rebirth is not going to run anything or provide any services in this building. We're not going to pretend to be experts in the trade business or the education business or any of these, related things that's going to go into this complex. What we are going to do is give people like yourself or people who have existing businesses or organizations the facility to come and operate and provide their services. That's simply what we want to do. Like I said, that is the biggest thing. We want the community to be involved. We want the community to be a part, and actually the community benefiting in every facet, not just coming in learning trades, but hey, if I run a nonprofit and I want to, like I said, I give this example. Capital Rebirth, we want to have after school program, a summer program, but the local YMCA, the boys club, and the school district pretty much runs their own programs, right? So what if we want to get into STEM or, something different that they're not running? We have no facility to run it. But now with this facility, where you have 25 different trade school classes and 50 career lecture style classrooms, you have the swimming pool in there, you have agriculture, I didn't even mention those type of things, the sensory gyms for, kids and adults. Now you can legit have 10 to 15 different programs or businesses operating, providing services at the same time, catering to kids who have different interests. Like I said, if you don't play sports in the city of Harrisburg, you do not make music, or you are not into selling drugs, you really don't get any support. You don't really get any encouragement. So what tends to happen is by the time these kids are, 11, 12 years old, they sense, hey, I wanted to be a veterinarian. Nobody ever exposed nothing to me. I don't even know any veterinarian. That's just unrealistic. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to kill the dreams that I once had. And now I see over here, if I play sports, sell drugs, or make music, everybody loves me. I'm popular now. I'm what everybody wants to be, right? But that kid is no longer that person anymore. He's pretending to be something he ain't. But what we need to do with those kids in that same boat is this facility will provide that structure, that classroom setting, because veterinary is one of the classrooms we have in there. So that kid can go in there every day, be around kids who have the same common interests, same common goals. So now you won't feel like a nerd, or you won't feel like an outcast, because now you have friends who are just as nerdy or interested in the same things that you're interested in and love it the same way that these people love sports. So they need an outlet, they need a home, they need exposure and experience at an early age so they can continue to pursue their dreams that they had as kids. Because like I said, football was my dream. I was exposed to football, 5 years old. But if I wanted to be a marine biologist, which was another one of my goals, where am I going to get that at? But now with this complex, we can go in there and say, hey, somebody can actually come in and create a program simply dedicated off of marine biology. Now those kids who are into marine life have a place to go. So that's the biggest thing, is and like I said, the food court area in there, I don't want Chick-fil-A in there. I don't want Taco Bell. I don't want McDonald's. I'd rather have a local person operating out of there. So now, example, say we have a huge event, Justin Bieber or, Beyonce comes and does an event there, and now they're eating on site, and they say, oh my God, this place, House of Vegan, oh my God, it's amazing. They take a picture, send it on Instagram, Snapchat, whatever the case is. Now that business could potentially grow, be, in LA next week, who knows what that type of publicity that can come with a star coming to our city and, marketing and publicity in your business simply because you have the opportunity to be there. So this complex is for the community and local people. It's not for big corporations to come. I don't need somebody from Philadelphia coming in here running an after school program. Like you said earlier, you don't know my kids. Like, the people that live here know this community, and know what's needed in this community, not outsiders. So that's one big thing that I want to touch on as well with that.
That's awesome, dude. Like I said, all support from me, man. Like I said, I think that's definitely needed all over the country, and right here being in Harrisburg, I think that's definitely something that is definitely needed with the support of the communities. Now, I want to turn a couple things here. I want to ask you a couple questions. This is based on what you're doing here, and I think I see this as one of the things, and I wanted to know what your definition of like a leadership is, of a leader, I should say. What's your definition of somebody who is a leader?
So somebody is a leader. Usually people who don't want to be in that leading role, like myself. But it's the person who has the ability to break down structure and the ability to let the consumers drive you. Like I said, because as a leader, you're not always going to be right. And at the end of the day, as a leader, your goal should be to cater and help the people. So the people should pretty much run you. So you have to be a leader, has to be in tune with what's going on in this community. And you have to be self-aware and have self-confidence. Like I said, there are some leaders who will come up in the rankings, but some money over here will deter them and buy their views, or someone running against them, or someone coming in the works where they may say, hey, that guy has a little more background, a little more money, I should maybe fall away, maybe I shouldn't pursue this. Like I said, but if you have that self-confidence, you don't let those things phase you. Like I said, the self-confidence in myself to go after this huge project. I've never done anything small, so you have to have that self-confidence. I could have said, which a lot of people said to me, why are you chasing this? This is huge. You're not going to get this project done at all. Like, what are you thinking? Maybe you should try to maybe start with a small community center or something small. But like I said, be confident, dream big, be aware of what's going on in the community, be open to criticism, be open to willing to change. Like I said, with the birth of technology, a lot of things that we grew up on are changing, and we have to be able to adapt to those new changes. And we can't say, oh, well, back in the day, this was like this, or we're going to stick to this and this tradition, because if you look at this new generation, they don't really respect tradition. They have the exposure to get on their phones and figure out facts and lies immediately. So they question you, they question tradition, they question these things immediately. Like example, when I was teaching the Harrisburg School District, I would tell the kids, hey, I played football. First thing that they would do, pull up their phone and Google me, or go on the computer and Google to see if I'm lying. So like a lot of these things that were taught to us, that are false nowadays are being exposed because of this younger generation. So you have to be able to take what comes from the younger generation, because they are blunt, they're honest, and they don't operate the same that a lot of us used to operate. And just, like I said, just being aware and hands-on on everything. Like I said, as the leader of my organization, one thing that I would never do is sit back and, take opinions from other people. I don't care how high I get, how powerful I get. I would never depend on other people's. I have to physically be in that state so I can get that, view of myself. Like I said, as the president and founder of my organization, when we had superhero events and, we can't find somebody to put a suit on, guess who's putting that suit on? Me. If we need somebody to pass out flyers because our ground team wasn't available this day, guess who's going to do that job? Me. So as a leader, that's another thing. You can't be above doing anything, whether it's taking out the trash at your business. You can't say, oh, well, I'm paying all these people, but continue to let the trash sit there. No, take it out, so like you have to continue to be normalized per se, and aware of things. So that's my kind of definition of a leader.
Awesome, man. Now, here's another one for you. Because I see that it's starting to shrink and it's starting to disappear, and it's unfortunate. But this whole program is about the real man, and I'm trying to rebuild men in the community. I think there's a disconnect with men all across the country, all across the United States, especially at the younger levels too, the youth and stuff like that. What would be, what do you see? Maybe some characteristics of what I would consider a real man.
A real man. One, if you're a father or you have kids, you better be actively involved in that kid's life in every phase, whether it's health, education, activities. I don't care. You need to be involved in that, because if you have a kid and you're not involved, that cancels you from being a man. I don't care if you're the richest and most productive. I don't care what you do for a living. If you're not involved in your kid's life, I have absolutely no respect for you. So that starts right there with being a real man. Secondly, that whole responsibility of being a father comes. You better know how to cook. You better know how to do your daughter's hair if you have a daughter. You better watch those YouTube videos like I did. Like I have never in my life asked anybody, my sister, anybody to do my daughter's hair at all. When it's time to go shopping to buy, toys, clothes, whatever the case, I don't ask nobody. When she's sick, I research or whatever the case may be. As a real man, you have to be able to do literally everything that you expect a woman to do. So I don't like to get into the whole sexist, oh, men should do this, women should do that. No, if I'm a man, what happens if my wife or my girlfriend gets sick for a week? Who's going to run the house? Or is it just going to turn into chaos simply because I can't do the dishes or I can't wash clothes? You know, that's basic things. Also, being a man is understanding right and wrong, and also understanding that when you commit a crime or you do something wrong, you're not just affecting yourself, you're affecting your brother, your sister, your cousin, your mom, your aunt, your uncle, your friends. Because a lot of times I think we get into this selfish mode where, you know, we do things and we don't think of how it's going to affect other people or how it's going to affect our parents, or, you know, that whole just being aware. Like I said, my biggest thing that kept me out of trouble, and I've never been arrested in my life, was simply I did not want to embarrass my parents. That was literally the only thing that kept, when it was time. And I had, like I said, growing up in the city, I had plenty of friends who, you know, walked that other line and did other things. But when it was time to make that decision, what always triggered in my mind was, and still today, is it going to embarrass my parents? Are they going to be ashamed? Now, you know, being who I am and having the career I had in football and, you know, having a daughter, if I was to do something now, it's not my parents that I'm so worried about now. It's reversed. It's my daughter, because now she can Google me, or her friends can Google me. Wow, your dad did this, or your dad was this. So those are things you just don't want. Maybe the biggest thing about being a man, honesty. I think that's hard for us. And I say this in every phase of life. And the big thing with men is we don't seek those conversations that are needed. We bundle up all our emotions. We don't let things out. And as a man, it's okay to cry. It's okay to say, hey, this situation hurt me. It affected me this way. You know, this is how I feel about this, because we're so used to, we're tough all the time, you know, and that actually beats us up more than it helps us. You know, growing up in the city, like I think every kid in the city should have some type of counseling, because we are traumatized to a certain degree and we don't even know it. Like right now, if someone's to start shooting gunshots, I wouldn't jump, I wouldn't run, I wouldn't duck, I wouldn't, because I've heard and seen so many shootouts and guns fired. But that is traumatizing. Like that shouldn't be a normal for us. So I think as men, one of the biggest things, we need to seek counseling.
Excellent. You know, I think all those points are definitely valid with all that stuff in there, and especially how you know, you talked about the honesty and all that kind of stuff, and doing the things that, you know, aren't so much the cool things, you know, doing the girl's hair. You know, I have two daughters and stuff like that, and I stink at it and I work on it. And, you know, it's a pain in the rear end, you know, because I don't, as you see, I have zero hair. So growing up, yeah, see, I had three brothers, you know, so we never had to do any of that stuff. So I could definitely feel for you there. I know exactly what it is, and I think that's exactly right. You need to do those kind of things. My next thing is, um, you know, do you have any fear? You know, do you have any fear? And if you do have fear, how do you get through it? How do you get through that fear?
May sound a little crazy, but honestly, I don't have no fears, because to me, I know everything that can happen or potentially happen to me in this world, whether it's a car accident, whether it's, you know, career failure, whatever the case may be. I know what is capable of happening in the outcome. But what I do think, if it was to label a fear, I think that I don't want to die before my plans are all complete. Like I said, this rebirth project is just the start. I have probably 15 like legit huge projects lined up to do over the next 10 years. And until that's done, I don't think I can be done with life. Like I said, because these plans are going to change this city for generations to come. It's going to change families for generations to come. It's going to create a way better living environment. Crime rate will be super reduced. Like it's just like Harrisburg is like the plans that I have. If everything can continue to go and the ball can drop the way it's going to go, Harrisburg is going to be that place where everybody wants to come and visit or come and live. That's, you know, just the way I have it drawn out. I can't speak on a lot of other plans that I have, but there is also a big bombshell that's going to drop within this next month, along with William Penn. that I can't, discuss right now. But like I say, once you see that drop, you understand that Capital Rebirth is on a bigger mission than just some community events. And we're actually trying to change the entirety of the community. And like I said, that's done through providing jobs. Like I said, a lot of these drug dealers earlier, they don't want to sell drugs. They're great with their hands and whatnot, but they don't have opportunity or exposure to get these certificates of trades. And this type of thing will help them provide jobs, and now they don't have to sell these drugs. That changes a lot for these kids. Everybody. Like I said, that's probably my only fear, is not being able to fulfill all these huge projects. Like I said, and money doesn't drive me, so I don't want people thinking, oh, Mikell just thinking about money. Because if that was the case, Capital Rebirth would operate every service or program within this complex and literally take all the money at the table, but that's not the case. I just want to see people happy, comfortable, and living a great life. Like I said, my thing is just people.
Good. That's great. Awesome. Last question here. What's your biggest failure in life? Have you had one? Maybe you have, but if you had, what is it?
I don't like to consider anything failures. I like to consider them learning opportunities. Yes, I've had plenty of them. Like I said, just getting into this, running your own organization. I didn't go to school, for any of this at all. And now I am sitting in the place as a developer, which I didn't go to school for. So, just over these past 2 years, I've made a ton of mistakes developing my organization, forgetting to do things, or, having to go back and redo things simply because I just wasn't aware, or educated at the time to make sure things are done. But I think, honestly, it may sound a little crazy, and this is something that I always regret, is I remember the day against Indiana, and I wish I never laid down on the field. I had a double stinger on both sides. I knew what it was, stinger, but for some reason I just sat on the field and trainers came out, and that's when I got carted off, took to the hospital. In college, to be honest, they don't really do a lot of deep examining of the body per se. So that's where kind of that whole bone spurs and oh my God, spinal stenosis came about, was that game against Indiana, because that's when it first started. Now, if I can go back and say, hey, I would have got up, because that was the only time that I had a double stinger. Even I finished the year, that season playing, no other problems. So if I could have got up, walked away, who knows what my NFL career would have been like. But like I said, that's a whole, another thing right now. And, I'm just trying to focus on my new purpose in life. But if that was something that to regret and to kind of get up, I wish I would have got up from it, because who knows, I could still be playing football today, or I could be paralyzed, who knows. But everything happens for a reason. But if we can look back, that was one reason. One situation I can look back like, dang, I wish I would have got up.
Well, Mikell, man, like I said, tons of information there. Tons of information that, I didn't even know everything about, which is great, because it makes me learn. And I'm hoping that people hear the message of not just your Capital Rebirth, which you have planned, and the bigger stuff, even beyond that, which is awesome. And I love to hear that out of young people, because I think you guys are the future. You guys definitely have to dream big and also then go after it and get the thing done. You know what I mean? I think there's so many talkers in the world that don't get things done. They have great dreams, they don't do it. You're one of those guys, dream big, but you're going after it. And I give you most respect, because I think that's one of the difficult things, because you're running into roadblocks, you run into this, you run into that, but you're finding ways around it. And I hope kids hear this story and know that, life isn't easy. Life was never meant to be easy, as many people try to make it easy. But with hard work, determination, and the desire that you have, and that dedication and deep down burning, that you can become, something different, and you can also make something different better for people, future generations and stuff. So I appreciate anything that you want to add. How do people get in touch with you to help out with your project? Anything like that, please throw it in.
Yeah, you guys can visit our website. It has all our information with the project, our events, everything we stand for and what we do at www.capitalrebirth.com. We also have a Facebook page, which is Capital Rebirth. We have an Instagram page, which is Capital Rebirth 717, and that's also our Twitter handle. We're all pretty much active, consistently on these social media sites. Like I said, that's our way of staying engaged with the community, getting their wants, their needs, or whatever the case may be. So we're easy to find. I'm easy to contact. We're not like those guys who are going to ignore you or feel like, we're too good or too better. Like I said, we take that approach. We treat everybody the same. Like I said, if you need any help with anything, like I said, you can reach out to me. I may not have the answers. Like I said, I am literally learning all of this stuff on the fly as I go. But any information that I do have, I'm not a stingy person. Not that guy who feels like, oh, if I share this information with you or give you this resource, you're going to take food off of my plate. I don't believe in that. And, like I said, if I got it, you got it too. There's not a competition in here. Like I said, we're all supposed to be helping each other. And that's just, what I want to do. Like I said, football wise, or just sports in general, I do want to leave with this. And it's something I tell all the athletes that I come across, simply because of what I went through. Please do not make sports your number 1, 2, or 3 career path choice. Please don't. Make that 4, 5, or 6. Like I said, because a lot of times your dreams for playing sports are literally cut at birth. You can't, determine how tall you're going to be, how fast you're going to be, those are kind of all genetics. So, but what you can control is if you want to be a sports trainer, or you want to be a commentator, or you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, whatever the case may be, the only thing that stops you from that is yourself, because it has no size description. So all that takes is hard work, dedication, and self-discipline, and you can be literally anything in the world you want to be. I don't care if you grew up in the worst situation or you grew up in the best situation. Any situation you can make work, as long as you are willing to make it work and not allowing excuses to, kind of spearhead your life.
That's awesome. Great advice. Guys, take that all in. Every single guy out there, please take that in. I think that's most valuable right there. If you do get the opportunity to play professional, I always tell all my guys that I've had the opportunity to work with, it was a bonus. You know what I mean? It was a gift that you guys got that. You worked to get there, and I think that's perfect advice. Mikell, I appreciate you, man. I love what you're doing for the community. Continue to do it. Don't let anybody stop you. If you have a roadblock, man, get around it. You're doing that, and that's what I think kids need to hear. And like I said, I've been following that stuff that you've been doing, and I think it's great. So thank you so much, man, for coming on. I greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate you inviting me. It was a great talk.